and welcome to Whiskey Angels. I'm Max, and this week we're going to be starting to taste our reference whiskies, which are the whiskies that we use to compare against whenever we are trying a new whiskey. Also, we'll be dropping back on André Della from Inside the Cask blog, who we recorded an extra segment with, talking about made-up whiskies for film. We recorded that when he was here talking about his Brazilian whiskies that he visited Brazil, and he gained a great insight into whiskies that were being made out there. So please do check back on our podcasts for that program, but also just for our other podcasts as well. There is lots of good stuff there to be found. Okay, so welcome to Whiskey Angels. We think the greatest whiskey podcast that you can listen to, at least in our eyes. You can watch us on YouTube and Spotify and listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Just do a search for Whiskey Angels, that's spelled ELZ at the end, and then subscribe, and please do hit the notification bell. Okay, let's get on with talking about our reference whiskey. So the way this works is basically if we were talking about an Islay or a peaty whiskey, for example, we'd be talking about how it compares to our reference whiskey, which is going to be Bowmore 12-year-old. Okay, well, you can find the full reference list of whiskies that we've got on our website, and they are Singleton, Auchentoshan, Glenmorangie, Glen Scotia, and Bowmore, all whiskies that I'm very, very fond of. So please go to WhiskyAngelz.com and check out that list. Okay, so that brings us round to our reference whiskey this week, and that whiskey is Bowmore. So the Bowmore 12-year-old is from Islay. Bowmore itself is the administrative capital, if you like, of Islay. And if you've not been to Islay before, if you ever get a chance, it really is well worth it. It's an exciting place to get to because you've got to cross it by ferry, or you can fly there. They've got a really, really small airport, which your plane will land if it's not too foggy, but if it's too foggy or too windy, then it's not going to be landing. And the same can be said for the ferry as well. Quite often ferries are cancelled as a result of the weather. Now, Bowmore itself is a beautiful place. It's got whitewashed cottages and houses, and it's got this really unique round church which sits at the top of the hill and looks down the main street towards the harbour. And as you're looking down that main street towards the water, Bowmore Distillery is on your left, and it is a sizable part of that town. Now, Bowmore itself, if I'm reading this right and looking back on my history, was founded in 1768. That was when the village was founded. It wasn't until 1779, so they didn't waste much time in getting started on their whiskey, that Bowmore Distillery itself was founded, and it is the oldest distillery on Islay, and it's also got, its number one warehouse, which is the oldest bonded warehouse that you will find there as well. So worth going and having a visit of Bowmore, and of course the distillery itself. It's renowned for its mastery of peat, and that is very much part of its tradition. Bowmore, also, just random fact for you, in World War II was a base for seaplanes, and they could fly in and out of there. It was an important base. All these islands were very important in terms of World War II. And then it was also, more recently, since something like 1991, the heat from the distillery gets used for heating the local swimming pool. So, community benefit to having a whiskey distillery very much on your doorstep. Okay, let us look actually at the whiskey that we're going to be talking about. So here I have it. It is Bowmore 12-year-old. Let me see. Let me read the blurb, and I'll do it in my best voiceover voice. Our signature distillery style of peat smoke, citrus and vanilla, perfectly balanced at 12 years old. There you go. That's what they say about it. Anything else in the back? Savor subtle lemon and sweet honey as the trademark peat smoke of Bowmore leads to a delicious long and mellow finish. trademark peat smoke. I don't know if you can trademark peat smoke, but anyway, the Bowmore is certainly seems to be a registered trademark. Anyway, so that is the bottle. It's a fairly straightforward bottle, nice classic design. What we'll do is now actually go for a little bit of a tasting. So the whiskey itself is a very kind of amber color, just a usual what you would expect, an amber nectar color. It's quite light. It sits right in the middle of the range, if you like, in terms of how these whiskies do come out. But it's got a nice look to it, as you'd expect. Here we go for my ding. There you go. That's the ding. I always quite like my ding. And we missed it on the, for those listening in colour, you missed it on the white shot. I'll go for it again. There we go. And it's just got a lovely, lovely look. Swirl it around. It's always nice to enjoy. I think one of the things about tasting whiskey is you take a moment, you calm yourself down, you don't rush it. You just take a moment to enjoy the time that is basically sitting in your glass. And this is 12 years of time sitting in a glass. Okay, so Bowmore has a number of time-honoured methods for producing its whiskey. Floor maltings. It's got coastal maturation, and that kind of, they say, infuses the whiskey with a distinctive kind of maritime character. I mean, a lot of whiskies in Scotland are on the coast, so the word maritime does tend to feature. There is no question it is smoky and it is peaty. If I just take a little smell there, yes, you can definitely get an idea of its immediate peatiness and smokiness. It's not punchy. It's quite mellow. I mean, anybody trying a peaty, smoky whiskey, this is a good entry-level way to do it, because a lot of other Islay whiskies and more peaty whiskies really do pack a punch. And this is designed to be a little bit more of a accessible whiskey. And so in terms of peatiness, this is kind of as accessible as it gets. Oh, that does smell very, very nice. Bit of lemon, honey, as was mentioned in the box. It's got a lovely kind of warm, cuddly feel to that whiskey. Okay, let's try a little bit of a taste of that now. It's soft, smoky, peaty. People kind of describe that as creosote, but I wouldn't. This is nowhere near creosote. This is really relaxed in terms of peatiness. Very relaxed in terms of peatiness. It's got a delicious taste. They reference kind of dark chocolate flavors in there, and I do get that. And that's definitely coming through. Some dark chocolate. It's mellow. So I would characterize this as really peaty, smoky, with a slight sweetness coming from the casks, and really nice, just as an everyday peaty whiskey that isn't going to punch you too much in the face. Delicious. I would highly recommend this one as a whiskey just to enjoy when you're having a wee dram without wanting it to really overpower you. A really good little dram. So that is our whiskey that we're going to be using for reference whenever we're talking about Islay whiskies or maybe peaty whiskies. We'll be talking about that in regard to Bowmore. Okay, let's now switch back over to when I met up with André in the past from Inside the Cask blog, and we spoke together about whiskies made up for film. Made up whiskey brands. This is another one of your blog pieces, which fantastic.
Yeah, and it's one of the most popular pages actually on the website. I don't know if it's because no one else has decided to write about it.
If you can find that niche, it's brilliant, isn't it?
But yeah, so obviously most people will be familiar with the whiskey brands that appear on film and TV, such as Macallan with 007 and James Bond, or Ron Swanson and Lagavulin in Parks and Recreation. So obviously you're familiar with those brands, but the ones that people may be less familiar is the completely made up and fictional whiskey brands. And there's plenty of them out there.
And so got some examples for us?
Yeah, so I actually even have a printed one, although you won't be able to see it, but Glengooley, which is on the
Glengooley, there we go.
Yeah, which is from the FX adult cartoon Archer. That's what they drink, Glengooley. Glengooley blue, Glengooley black. So you can see the inspiration may have come from Johnny Walker, albeit the bottle actually looks a bit like the old Glenfiddich bottle.
So it's got that shape.
It's got that shape, but the whole idea is most consumers obviously would find pretty weird if characters were drinking a whiskey or a branded product without any brand, whether it's a fictional or...
Yes, it's got to have a brand of some sort.
It has to have a brand of some sort. But obviously film studios and TV studios, they may not want to pay the royalties, or they may not want to, depend on how the topic that's being filmed, they have to sometimes be careful in terms of the brand association.
Yeah, exactly. Brands will get very sticky with you very quickly if you put your product in a shot where somebody's being murdered and they're saying, well, you're connecting our brand with murdering.
No, exactly.
We don't want that.
No. So that's what the industry does. They basically Greek a product, is what they call, when they make up a fictional product. And some of them sound like two actual brands put together, like Glencallan, a Glen of some sort with Macallan. And others are completely made up names that I have no idea where
There'll be researchers that spend hours double checking that these brands don't already exist. And then if somebody was really switched on, they'd see it exist in a film and then create it very quickly.
Which has happened as well. If you look at Anchorman with Will Ferrell. So for the Anchorman 2, the made up whiskey from the first one, it actually got released as a product.
Oh my God.
Albeit as a limited edition. So it just shows, because obviously people get engaged with popular culture.
Of course.
And they want a piece of it. And if it's available
and if it's fun, why not?
Exactly.
You can get something out of it. I mean, a lot of the product placement is fairly heavy-handed when you see it on screen. Like, the 007, when you suddenly kind of randomly cut to the whiskey shop where the logo is just perfectly lit. But I tell you, everything needs funded these days, and the money's got to come from somewhere.
Exactly, it's a commercial enterprise at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely.
And the funding has to come from somewhere, but certainly, mixing the popular culture with whiskey is something that continues to grow. And it's not just Scotch. You've got Irish whiskey, you've got other brands of spirits that have been created as fictional products. Well, I mean, there's one whiskey concept for a feature film that I've got where I very much part of the thinking is, right, we can make the film, which will never make any money because no films ever make any money for the producers anyway, and then we can always roll out the whiskey off the back of it. And then I started doing a podcast and I suddenly realized how many whiskeys there are, and it's quite a crowded market, and maybe we need some zombie movies with whiskeys. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, haven't seen that one. Right, Si, we're going to get onto that. We're definitely going to get onto that. Okay, brilliant. So a huge thank you to André for giving us that piece on whiskies and film. Do check out Inside the Cask blog. It's a fantastic website with lots and lots of good articles and stories, as well as what's happening within the industry and the whiskey world in Scotland and, of course, beyond as well. And please do check out our own website. Of course, I should be selling that one too. I sometimes forget to do that. If you haven't had a chance, also listen to our previous podcast episodes. We've got some fantastic ones on the SS Politician. We had the Dram Queen Anne Miller as well. She was on another one of our podcasts. So please do have a listen. Do subscribe, do like them. We need all the help we can get from you guys out there. And then check back with us soon. And take care of yourself. And of course, Slanjiva. Hope I hit record. Did I hit record? I think I hit record. I'm going to find out very shortly if I hit record. I should really run the VT for the end of the episode and I give you the end music if I can find the button to press. Is this if you were listening for the cast strength chaos, you've listened right to the end of the podcast to actually get that. So hats off to you. Okay, and here's the button.